double saxophone today. Beautiful. The saxophone was a form of prayer today, and absolutely beautiful. Back when I was in my early teenage years, and I'll not say what decade that was, there was this national evangelism campaign organized by churches all throughout the country. And the theme of the campaign was, I found it. So even during prime time on all the major networks, there was this I found it ad. And you'd have people saying, I found it and my life has changed. Then they would not quite answer the question. And then they passed out bumper stickers that said, I found it. And depending on what the car was, some would say, you can keep it. And then there were t-shirts, I found it. Well, being the good little church kid that I was a part of this campaign through my local church. And they had these training classes on how we could enter into conversations with people about I found it. Some of it involved making cold calls. And I can tell you that absolutely terrified me. You would call someone cold and then ask if they'd seen the ads for the campaign, and I couldn't wait for those calls to be over. Even worse was going door to door. Knocking on the door, somebody would answer the door, and then I would say, I found it. I never knew what was going to be behind the door. And I can remember in one case, the door opened and there was this guy wearing a tank top that was about 2 sizes too small, holding a beer in one hand and a glazed donut in the other. And I couldn't help but notice that some of the glazed donut had fallen into his chest hairs. And I said, I found it, bye-bye. Later, when I got my driver's license, someone thought they'd give me a nice gift, and it was a bumper sticker that said, honk if you love Jesus. I have to admit that I felt very awkward with this bumper sticker. I think back to both of these campaigns, and what comes to me is that the subtle message given to me as this young teenager is that in order to love Jesus, I had to do things that were very uncomfortable for me. As an introvert, I didn't like making cold calls, nor did I like knocking on doors. And yet, I wanted to be the good church kid. So I awkwardly participated in these campaigns. What occurs to me is that I was having to create someone to be a part of this. The good church kid. People were telling me what it meant to live my faith. And I was having to live my faith in a way that was very awkward and unnatural for me. In fact, I think that's true for many of us. We find ourselves being told how to act and what to believe and how to be. About churchifying ourselves, part of religious conditioning. And it's easy for us to grow up, whatever our faith tradition might be it Jewish or Christian or Muslim, being able to recite the scriptures and recite the dogmas. And for those actually not to become who we really are, but the different masks that we wear. We mask our true beliefs by what we are told to say and how to be. I think now more than ever, we need a world where people of faith can be real to who they are. In a world of so much fake news, what does it mean for us to take off the mask and to be a people of real news? Real love revealed. As we own what we believe, as we wrestle with what we believe, as we take on the identity of who we really are. In our gospel today, I think that's what Jesus was talking about when he said to those early followers, let your light shine. You don't light a lamp to put it under a bucket. During that time, that message was particularly difficult because he was speaking to people who'd been forced to hide in so many ways. People who'd been forced to hide from the Roman Empire out of fear for their own lives. People who had been forced to believe and act in certain ways and to meet certain standards. He was inviting people to take the risk to live their true lives. That is our invitation during this season, to spend time getting clarity about who we really are, unpeeling the masks, unpeeling the layers. In our scripture today, Jesus uses this amazing metaphor. Jesus says, the lamp of your body is your eye. I think what Jesus is talking about is the idea of us becoming clear in our perceptions, being clear in our faith. When we put on the mask, it's difficult for us to clearly perceive. In fact, if you put a mask on, one can only see out of a very limited perspective. Part of the view is blocked. And yet when the mask is removed, one can see, one can perceive, one has that clarity. Reveal real love. That's the message of Jesus in our scripture today. And what would happen if we truly became real? Mandisa has this wonderful song called What If We Were Real? And she writes, we'd think a little less of ourselves, we'd care about someone else. Maybe we could let someone love us. Maybe we'd be a little bit more like Jesus. What if we were real? We would truly be free. The light of God would shine through us brightly, even during the difficult times. It's the light of the Spirit, our true selves shining through us. It invites others to discover their true selves. Taking off the mask has positive impact because it opens the doors for others to do the same, to see that we can take that step in trust. Iyanla Van Zandt says, love rises tall in the truth of what it is for everyone to see and receive it. The invitation of our faith is to remove our masks in trust that God will continue to unpeel the layers. And when all the layers are unpeeled, what is revealed is the truth of who we are in the deepest part of ourselves. It is depth perception. It is clarity of living. It is an opportunity to show love in ways that touch others. Let's think more about what it means to ask the question, what if we were real?